On certain nights, the desert sky does something it isn't supposed to do. Lights appear where no aircraft should be, moving in formations that defy explanation, watched by thousands of people at once. Governments have investigated them. Scientists have debated them for years, and in one case, an entire state watched the same impossible sight, together in silence, unable to look away. On the evening of March 13, 1997, residents across Arizona looked up and saw a massive, V-shaped formation of lights drifting silently over Phoenix, stretching for what witnesses described as over a mile from end to end. Thousands of people, from ordinary residents to a sitting state governor, watched the same object move slowly across the sky without a sound. Within hours, it would become one of the most witnessed, unexplained events in American history. And almost 3 decades later, part of it still hasn't been fully explained. Before we walk through exactly what happened that night, consider subscribing. It helps this channel keep making carefully researched documentaries, and you won't miss our next investigation into the sky's strangest unsolved mysteries. This is the story of the Phoenix Lights, one of the largest mass sighting events ever recorded in the United States. On a single night in March 1997, 2 separate aerial events occurred over Arizona within a few hours of each other. One, a massive, silent formation of lights. The other, a series of bright flares hanging in the sky. One event has a confirmed military explanation. The other, despite decades of investigation, still doesn't. We'll go through the timeline, the witnesses, the official response, and why this case remains one of the most debated in the state's history. The night began just before 8 p.m. on March 13, 1997, when residents in Henderson, Nevada, reported a V-shaped or boomerang-shaped formation of lights moving southeast at a low altitude. Over the next hour, the same formation was reported moving through Arizona, from the small town of Paulden, near Prescott, down through the state capital of Phoenix, and eventually toward Tucson. Witnesses described it consistently, a dark, solid mass studded with amber or white lights, moving slowly and silently, some estimating it to be the size of a football field or larger. Though estimates of size are difficult to verify without radar corroboration. Among the thousands who watched it was Arizona Governor Fife Symington, a licensed pilot with military flight experience. At the time, Symington publicly downplayed the incident, even staging a mocking press conference weeks later in which an aide dressed in an alien costume was presented as a joke to the media. It wasn't until 2007, a full decade later, that Symington reversed course, telling reporters he had personally witnessed the object and describing it as otherworldly, unlike any aircraft he had flown or seen in his military career. A second, separate event occurred later that same night, around 10 p.m., when a series of bright lights appeared in a stationary formation over the Phoenix area and remained visible for several minutes before fading out. This second sighting was captured on local news broadcasts and became the most widely circulated video associated with the case. The Arizona Air National Guard later confirmed that A-10 Thunderbolt aircraft from the 148th Fighter Squadron had been conducting training exercises that night over the Barry Goldwater Range, dropping long burning illumination flares that would have been visible from Phoenix at the altitude and distance described. Officials, including a spokesperson for the Air National Guard, stated this explained the 10 p.m. flare event specifically. What that explanation does not directly address is the earlier, roughly 8 p.m. event. The mile-long V-shaped formation seen moving silently across multiple cities before the flares were ever dropped. That distinction is often lost in public retellings of the case, which frequently blend both events into a single sighting. The Phoenix Lights drew national media coverage within days, with outlets including CNN and USA Today reporting on the volume of witness calls flooding local news stations and police departments. The Mutual UFO Network, a private organization that investigates such reports, logged hundreds of independent witness statements from that single night, one of the highest concentrations of reports for any single event in its database. No official U.S. government investigation was opened specifically into the earlier V-formation event, and no radar data from that time period has ever been publicly released to confirm or rule out its physical characteristics. In the years since, additional witnesses have come forward, including several pilots who reported having their own separate encounters with unusual aircraft in Arizona airspace around the same period, though these accounts remain uncorroborated by official records. Several explanations have been proposed, and it's important to separate what's confirmed from what remains disputed. The flare explanation for the second 10 p.m. event is well documented and has been confirmed directly by the Arizona Air National Guard, which acknowledged conducting a live fire training exercise with flare drops that night. Skeptics and researchers, including astronomer and skeptic investigator Tony Ortega and others who examined the case, argue this explanation likely accounts for a significant portion of the public confusion, since local news footage of the flares was the most widely broadcast image associated with the event. For the earlier V-shaped formation, one theory holds that witnesses observed a formation of aircraft flying in close configuration, with the lights of individual planes visually merging at a distance into what appeared to be a single solid object. A phenomenon some aviation analysts consider plausible given the reported altitude and distance. Critics of this explanation note that no military branch has ever confirmed operating aircraft in that formation at that time over that flight path. A more skeptical position argues that memory and perception can be unreliable during a widely reported mass event, and that once early witnesses described a V-shaped craft, later witnesses may have interpreted ordinary lights through that same lens, a documented effect in the study of mass sighting events, sometimes called confirmatory bias. Believers in a more unconventional explanation point to the number and consistency of independent witness accounts, the credibility of witnesses including a state governor and licensed pilot, and the absence of any confirmed conventional aircraft matching the description, arguing that the case remains genuinely unresolved, regardless of the flare explanation for the later event. No single theory accounts for every detail reported that night, and researchers, journalists, and the witnesses themselves continue to disagree about what exactly passed over Arizona. The Phoenix Lights remains significant because of its scale. It is one of the only unexplained aerial events witnessed simultaneously by an entire state population, including public officials with aviation training, rather than a small number of isolated observers. It also illustrates how two separate, unrelated events can become merged in public memory into a single story, complicating efforts to investigate either one on its own. The case is frequently cited in later congressional discussions about the reliability of witness testimony in aerial phenomena reports, including during 2023 hearings on unidentified anomalous phenomena, where lawmakers referenced mass sighting events like Phoenix as examples of the gap between public interest and formal government investigation. It remains one of the most cited cases in the modern UAP conversation, precisely because part of it has a clear, confirmed explanation, while another part does not. What is confirmed is this. On the night of March 13, 1997, thousands of Arizona residents saw two distinct aerial events. The second, a formation of lights around 10 p.m., has been officially explained as military flares dropped during a training exercise. The first, a massive silent V-shaped formation seen nearly 2 hours earlier by witnesses across multiple cities, including the state's own governor, has never received an official government explanation. Fife Symington, a man who once mocked the very idea of the sighting, spent the rest of his public life insisting he saw something he still cannot explain. If you enjoyed today's investigation, don't forget to subscribe. There are still countless unexplained lights, unresolved sightings, and open case files waiting to be uncovered. Until our next investigation, thank you for watching.